Hey, Rosie 2 here. Okay, today we talk about this proposed rule change regarding what it means to be engaged in the business of dealing firearms. Okay, this comes from the Biden administration, Department of Justice, ATF. Yet another rule change. Okay, so we're gonna be getting into that. Excuse me as I'm gonna be looking down, reading from this from whitehouse.gov sections of this throughout this video. Okay, so a lot to talk about here. Going to get right into it. Okay, we're just going to start right here at the top. Okay, fact sheet. Biden-Harris administration takes another life-saving step to keep guns out of dangerous hands. Okay, so as you can hear right there, right at the top, the propaganda is getting rolling right off the bat. Okay, so this goes on to say, in March, President Biden signed an executive order directing the Attorney General to move as close to universal background checks as possible within existing law. Today, as a result of the executive order and the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the Department of Justice is taking life-saving action, reducing the number of guns sold without background checks to keep guns out of the hands of criminals. Okay, so that right there, okay, it sets up the backstory. Okay, it tells you where this rule change comes from. It comes from that executive order from March and the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act of 2022 that was passed last year with the help of a bunch of rhinos. Okay, so that's where this comes from. And as you can hear, the point of this is getting effectively universal background checks without Congress passing a universal background check law, because that isn't going to happen anytime soon. Okay, so that's the setup here. Now going into this a little bit further. Okay, let's get into another section of this here. Okay. Today, the Justice Department has announced a proposed rule to specify what exactly the new definition in the Bipartisan Safer Community Acts means on the grounds. If finalized, this proposed rule would mean the following for people who are not selling guns in order to make money. If you have a gun you no longer need and you want to sell it to your family member, you do not need a license to sell it. Okay. If you buy and sell curio, relics, or collectible personal firearms as a hobby, again, you do not need a license. Okay, so that's basically carving out some exceptions to this. Okay, right there. It goes on to say, but if you are offering a firearm for sale to make money and telling a customer that you can purchase and sell him additional firearms, you would presumptively need a license and need to run background checks. The same is true for repetitively offering for resale firearms within 30 days of when you purchase them. Okay, so that's where it starts to set up what this rule change actually looks to do. Okay, so now we're going to get into the section where it actually lays out the changes here. Okay, and this is super outrageous. Okay, specifically, the proposed rule, if finalized, would clarify that an individual would be presumed to be engaged in the business of dealing in firearms and therefore be required to become a licensed firearms dealer and to run background checks. If they meet certain conditions, for example, under the proposed rule, a person would be presumed to be required to become a licensed dealer and to run background checks if they meet one or more of the following criteria. Okay, so we're going to get into these criteria here. Okay, so let's just go down this list, I guess. Okay. Offer for sale any number of firearms and also represent to a potential buyer that they are willing and able to purchase and sell them additional firearms. Okay. repetitively offer for sale firearms within 30 days after they were purchased. Okay. Repetitively offer for sale firearms that are like new and in the original packaging. Okay, so basically with that one, did you not treat your firearm like an absolute piece of shit? Because if you didn't, then you're gonna need to be a licensed firearms dealer in order to sell it. Okay. Um, Going down the list further, okay. Repetitively offer for sale multiple firearms of the same make and model. Okay, so do you like a particular model of firearm? Do you have multiple? Did you decide maybe I don't need four of the same model of firearms? I'd like to sell a couple. Nope, not gonna be able to do that. Okay. Um, as a formerly federally licensed firearms dealer, sell firearms that were in the business inventory and not transferred to a private collection at least 1 year before the sale, addressing the so-called fire sale loophole. Oh my God, how many loopholes? Okay, this is outrageous. Maintaining records to document and track the profits and losses of firearms purchased or sold. Purchasing business insurance or renting space in a gun show. Okay. Obviously, there's tons of problems with all this, right? I'm just trying to get the facts out here. You know, this video would be 20 minutes if I stopped on every one of these and gave my opinion on it, right? But you know, renting space at a gun show, I mean, there's tons of other things you might sell at a gun show other than firearms. Anyway, the proposed rule makes clear that there is no gun show loophole or internet loophole. In federal law declares who engaged in the business of selling guns are required to obtain a license and run background checks no matter where they engage in the business of buying and selling firearms. This includes at gun shows and over the internet. Okay, so that one right there over the internet is a big problem. That's going to potentially get a lot of different people jammed up, okay? That's probably the most concerning part of this whole thing, but let's be fair, the whole thing's super concerning. Okay, then this thing closes by saying, the proposed rule is now open for public comment. The Department of Justice will consider the comments it receives in deciding on a final rule. Okay, so there's that. I can't find at the time that I'm recording this video, I can't find any any public comments, right? So maybe it isn't quite published yet, but I'm sure it will be very soon. Maybe it is by now as I upload this, okay? Okay, so I just wanted to read through some of the important sections of this. Like I said, this is from whitehouse.gov. New proposed rule change regarding what it means to be engaged in the business of dealing firearms. Okay, so this is open. This is a proposed rule change, right? So this has not happened yet. This may or may not happen, right? It's open for public comments, right? I would recommend that we all consider leaving a public comment on this thing, right? You don't want to get in there. You don't want to get in there and swear or talk a bunch of wild shit, right? You don't want to get in there. Keep it professional. Go in there with good points, right? As to why this is bad. Tons of good points as to why this is absolutely no good. So, you know, it shouldn't be too hard to come up with something on that. Like I said, I would recommend we all do that, and hopefully prevent this from occurring. Because as you can hear in their extremely bad situation, this pretty much does get rid of most private sale of firearms. This really does act as universal background checks, which is what they want. As we know, universal background checks are bad because universal background checks leads to registry leads to confiscation throughout history. Okay, so not a good situation. That's just some of the basic facts, basic information, again, from whitehouse.gov in regards to this. If you got any questions, if you want to see any follow-up videos, by all means, let me know. I can certainly make more videos on this topic. But for now, that's all I'm going to talk about. Okay, let me know in the comments anything you have to say on this. If you want to continue to see videos on my channel, go ahead and subscribe. Other than that, I'm going to get out of here. Goodbye.